Welcome back to our, what would we call these? Brief introductions of the context of your reading as you are reading through the scriptures. And you've come to session 40, which is Jeremiah chapter 11 through chapter 24. Remember, Jeremiah is called a weeping prophet because his ministry is somewhat of a negative ministry because the people keep rebelling against God, against his covenant. And instead of learning that 125 years before, God had brought discipline upon the northern kingdom, those 10 tribes up north, when they kept rebelling, and used Assyria to take them away. And that God promised he's going to do the exact same thing with Judah, these final two tribes, 125 years later. And Jeremiah, his whole ministry is basically warning them again and again and again. Well, chapter 13, you're going to find that God uses Jeremiah's whole life with sermons, illustrations, and pictures. For example, chapter 13, he's going to have Jeremiah take his belt, a waistband, and he takes it to a rock near Euphrates. He puts it in a hole. Later he comes back. God tells him to take it out, and it's all ruined. It's rotten. And he uses that to be a picture of the pride of Judah, that they're going to destroy themselves, even though they think that they're in control. He does again, he warns them. Chapter 14, as a matter of fact, Jeremiah even takes responsibility of the sins of his own people, and he gives them a model of repentance. But they ignore him. And so chapter 15, God says, I'll still bring punishment. Here will be the sins of Manasseh, who was the king, the son of Hezekiah, and he was a bad guy at this time. By the way, Jeremiah is complaining and will complain and whine about the fact that why does he have to have this ministry of warning, of judgment? Because all the people think that he's betraying the people, because he keeps saying that they need to submit to the oncoming onslaught of Babylon. And they think this guy is just not very loyal to his own people, and he suffers for it. Chapter 16, Jeremiah is forbidden to marry and enjoy any of the joys everybody else is enjoying, to show them that there's going to come a time you're going to lose those joys. The key is that the happy man is the one who's going to trust the Lord. The one who's trusting in man is going to be miserable. Then he uses another picture. This one is of a bird hatching eggs of another species. And the picture there is like God gave life to the children of Israel, but now they're acting like somebody else gave them life, and they're going after other gods, and they are basically turning their back on God. Kind of reminds us a little bit of our culture. Well, Jeremiah goes on, and he uses another picture that Israel's like a clay in the hands of a potter, and God's going to have to break that vessel because they continue to rebel against the hands of the potter who's shaping them. You're going to see a guy named Pashur. He's the governor of the temple. Well, he gets really ticked at Jeremiah for speaking against the temple, saying it's a den of robbers, much like Jesus would do 500 years later. And so he puts him in stocks. And by this time, Jeremiah again starts whining, saying, can I stop prophesying? But God calls him to keep on doing it. Well, he gives the advice again to the leadership to submit to Nebuchadnezzar's forces, and they just think that he is anything but a patriot, and that he's rebelling the people. But even with this, God causes Jeremiah to promise them God is still engaged. He's going to punish you for your wickedness, but there's still that king, that even though it looks like the promise to David is going to be destroyed when Babylon destroys the throne of David, Judah, but that God's going to keep his promise, and there will be a future king, a branch of David, and again, as we know, Jesus Christ, who will restore that kingdom and all the promises God made to David. Well, I hope you enjoy the reading this week, and we'll pick this up with session 41. That will be Jeremiah 25 to 36 next week. We'll see you then.